All right. Hello, everybody. Looks like people are just starting to get on the call here. My name is Michael Jospe, and I'm going to go ahead and get started with the presentation. And we can get this going here. All right. Well, hopefully you are on your computer and you can see this. If you are not on your computer, you might want to be. If you're only on your phone, and I'll give you a way to communicate with us because unfortunately you won't have an option to be able to talk with me through this. And I just want to make sure that you're able to see me. Susie, I'm going to just mute your line here. And I think that'll allow people to be able to see me. So the first thing that I want to say is I just really appreciate you all being here. We had quite a bit of interest in this. I think we had something like 45 people register for this webinar, and it's a real testament to, I think, to all of my teachers and all those people that have inspired me on this path. So I'm grateful to all of them for their mentorship and for all of you for being here and being interested in a program like this. So I'm trying to get this to work here. Sorry, this is a first for me. Here we go. I just want to say that this is a really difficult medium for me. And it's a real difficult medium, I think, to be able to talk about nature and to talk about connection. You know, our program is called Nature Connection, Nature Connected Coaching. And here we are in this very strange medium of a webinar where I can't even see your face. You can only see mine. And so I thought that maybe we could just kind of start with trying to all get on our heads on the same page here. And really what that is about why are we here, and being in a place of connection with the natural world, wherever you are, and in whatever way that whatever you're doing at this moment. So what I want to do is I want to invite you to just take a moment, and if you want to shut your eyes and to just take a few breaths. And in doing that, allow yourself to see that pristine, beautiful place in the wilderness that you feel most connected to. Whether it's a canyon or ocean, mountains, snow, allow yourself to just see that scene. Maybe it's a place you've been to in the past, or a place that you have always dreamed about in your mind. And now, instead of just seeing that place, imagine that you're there. And feel it. Temperature of the air. The sounds. And the experience of just being there in your own body, what it does for you. And I want you to take a moment to think about what it is that inspires you to want to do work in this particular field of nature, guiding, coaching, and I'd love for in some way to be able to see this and hear and to read this. You have a button on your screen that allows you to chat, and you can choose to send this in to me and personally through that chat. You can send it and share it with everybody that's on the call. So I'd love to I'd love for you to take a moment right now to just share a little bit about, in a very, a few words, a couple sentences, what is inspiring you to be a part of this webinar right now, to learn about this? What's inspiring you in your life at this time to want to do this kind of work? So I'll give it a few minutes for people to submit any thoughts. It would just help me tremendously to know that you're out there. I can see that some people are on the call, but it would just help me to hear your voices a little bit. You're going to be listening to mine quite a bit. Emily, we can't hear you, but I can see your writing, so you do have a voice. Your sharing your thoughts would be very helpful for us right now. So thank you. And Michael, I see your post, and that's very helpful. Needing to be conscious about communing with nature and supporting others, natural environments. Kate, deeply connected to water and nature, looking for a way to create healing for and through nature. And Joel, it's wonderful that you're on this call. College professor, teaching people about nature and how to connect with nature. Feeling called to help others, connect to the world on a spiritual level. Well, I hope that you're all able to see this and you can kind of feel yourself within company of family or of like-minded people, because it's wonderful to feel people come together in this way. Thanks, Lindsay. Nature saved my life. I love that. Did mine too. Okay. Joel says he's nuts about water too. So you got to make sure that if you're writing to people, you see if you can select send to everyone instead of just send to the panelists if you want people to see that. Healing power of wilderness, and this is wonderful to read all this. So hold this in your heart. Please keep sharing these things. Hold this in your heart and your mind. Hold that place in the wilderness in your mind that you feel most called to and drawn to. And maybe it's even that place in the wilderness that you imagine that you bring people to, because you know that place has a healing power to it. And, you know that nature in and of itself is healing. There's really nothing that you have to do to inspire that. Just being out there, the longer you're out there, the more it sinks in, the more it starts shifting the way your brain is functioning at that moment, the more your heart calms and your nervous system starts to entrain with that environment. And you also, I can see this in your posts, you all have this innate desire to help other people. You've probably been doing this all your life if you're not doing it professionally now, but you've always been a listener. You've always been someone that has the desire to support other people, to be in their best, to grow. And I can say that because that's who I am too. And that following that knowing inside of me is what's really guided me here today. So what are we doing here? What's really the goal of this webinar? Is to try to answer your questions as much as possible about the Nature Connected coaching program, to tell you about the upcoming accelerated program, tell you about the transformational wilderness guiding program, and then also the wilderness quest. You know, this is not going to be a sales pitch. That's not what I'm doing here. You know, you all know why, you all have that connection to this. I just want to be able to give you as much information as possible so you can make a decision as to if this is something that is right for you at this time in your life. It's not a question in my mind of if this is the right work for you. It's more of, is Earth-Based Institute, is this program the right thing for you at this time, and how can we be supporting each other on this path? So how to participate in this, you're already doing that through the chat. If you're not viewing this on your computer and you're on your phone, you can text me personally any questions or comments to my cell phone. My cell phone is 720-352-7865. I'd love to hear anything from anybody. That would all be very helpful. You also have a Q&A button. And this is going to help us organize your questions and be able to make sure we answer them. And then if we can't answer them in this call, then you know, we'll be able to answer them through email and so forth. So go ahead and start using that Q&A and that Q&A button, and we'll start to organize your questions and make sure we can get to them. So who is joining me today? We have Susie Kincaid and JP Harrison. I've tried my best to wrangle as many students and people who have been a part of this program, and this is a difficult time. So we had two wonderful people with us, JP and Susie. And I would love for you two, JP and Susie, to introduce yourself. In fact, JP, I'm just going to mute your audio. There's a bit of a background noise there. Love for you guys to introduce yourselves. How, you know, what drew you into this program? Where, you know, how long ago? You both have graduated so long ago, and you're a part of it in different ways. How are you currently a part of Earth-Based Institute, and how are you applying it professionally for yourself? So, Susie, why don't you go ahead and start, because I know JP is just getting organized right now.
Well, hi everyone, and welcome to this webinar. As Michael said, you know, you were called, and probably have been called for a really long time by the natural world. as was I. I was leading retreats and doing some outdoor ed with young teenage girls and with women, and bringing all these facilitators, and really just trying to develop a business around nature adventure retreats. And then I came across Earth-Based Institute. I thought I had discovered how wonderful nature is for us, and to put it into a program, I was like, wow, that's really cool, Susie. You're really smart. And then I went and found out that there's a whole field in this. And after the fact, after I started my business, and I discovered the Earth-Based Institute, which actually has now provided me the tools that I use in every single coaching session that I have with anyone, whether it's phone coaching or whether we're out in nature, whether we're out in the river, whether we're rock climbing. I use the techniques that I learned at EBI through Michael daily, and I use them in my own life too as well. So I'm really, I was so excited to find that there's this body of work that's being grown and developed, because I've dedicated the last half of my life to serving the earth and serving people by reconnecting them to the natural world. So a lot of specific tools for my toolbox that I love and that are effective, and also just this deep way of connecting. Things that I had been doing intuitively all my life became, had some form around them, so that I could actually deliver that to other people in an effective way. And that's what EBI has really given me, is the professionalism to be able to take what I already know and what you already know, the same kinds of instinctual things that you know as well, and put them in a way that is very accessible for other people and very healing. So I'm actually sitting out here in the desert in Utah, about to launch a 4-day retreat with 10 women and be in nature all weekend. And I wouldn't really feel confident doing this if I hadn't gone to EBI and learned what I did. And I'm still involved with EBI. I'm a mentor for students. I occasionally will teach one of the segments, the toolboxes. And I love Michael's work. I love his approach. And certainly his coaching presence is really something I've learned so much from. So thank you. Thank you all for coming, and thanks for having me, Michael.
All right, thanks, Susie. JP, are you, I'm going to go ahead and, okay, there you go. Great, go ahead, JP. I'd love to hear.
Is there a video, or is it just
There is not video. And you are kind of not in a, you're cutting out a bit. So JP, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce you, and because I think there's an issue with your audio. So I'll go ahead and mute your line. And all right, well, hopefully everybody can hear me. I'm sure I'll get messages come in if you can't hear me. Well, anyways, JP graduated the program several years ago, and he went off to go work for a wilderness therapy program that is a adult addiction program in Utah, and climbed up through the ranks pretty quickly there. As a field staff, and then started working with incoming students to help them start to wrap their head around what the program is that they were going through, and became integral support for them. And then JP, I've asked JP to come back and help with Earth-Based Institute. He's going to be helping me with the 14-day wilderness leadership training that happens in the summer. And I will be explaining more about that as we go. And I'm hoping that you all are able to see me. If you're not able to see me, please let me know. Because it looks to me like another video is on the is in the front of all this. But if you're able to see me, that's great. It's actually more important that you're able to hear me than see me. But so I wanted to back up here. Just tell a little history about this program. And to let you know, give you a little bit of information about who I am. And really, how this program came about is best told through some pivotal moments in my life. And I think the first one that I always go back to is when I was just finishing up high school. I had the wonderful opportunity to be able to go on a NOLS course, National Outdoor Leadership School. And I spent about 30 days backpacking in Alaska. I've never done anything like that before. And what was so striking to me on that experience was not so much what was happening on that trip as when I came back. And what was so amazing to me when I came back was that I felt so incredibly different. And the only way that I could tell was because I went back and hung out with my old friends and was back into my day-to-day routine and pattern at home and so forth. And nothing seemed to have changed, yet everything had changed. And I couldn't understand what that was all about. And it really sent me on this path of what the heck happened out there in the wilderness. And if any of you had have any of you have spent an extended amount of time in the wilderness, you'll know what I'm talking about. You know, it's often called that wilderness high, where you come back and you just feel different. You feel alive. It's like you're radiant, and people look at you differently. People talk to you differently, and it doesn't really feel like anything's changed, yet everything has changed. So that was a powerful moment for me. That really started to raise a lot of questions. Soon after that, I started studying from a man by the name of Tom Brown Jr., who has written several books in nature awareness, tracking, and survival, and he has a wilderness school that teaches these things. And Tom opened my eyes to a whole nother way of communicating and listening to nature and listening to myself. It really guided me deeper into myself more than anything else. And that, again, raised a lot of questions because it was all about interactions with nature. And one of his students, who some of you may have heard of as well, his name is John Young. John Young went off to start the school called the Wilderness Awareness School and wrote a book that we use as a textbook in this program called The Coyote's Guide to Connecting to Nature. And John really focused on indigenous education. He really wanted to understand how Tom had taught him to connect with the land and connect to himself and to listen. And there's some moments with John that were incredibly profound in my life that, again, raised a tremendous amount of questions about nature connection and how that how it affects us personally on a psychological level, on a spiritual level, and on a physiological level. I remember one story was with John. We were walking down this trail, and he stopped and was looking at a track in the ground, and I, of course, couldn't see it until he brought me down to my knees, and we were staring out at the outline, and it was a bear track. And he said, "Put your hand in this bear track." And I put my hand in the bear track, and in an instant, I felt the bear. I felt how soft that bear walked through the woods. I felt it's the power of its listening, the how gentle and swift and fluid it moved through the landscape. And I never thought a bear would ever move like that. And that right there raised a tremendous amount of questions about what was that all about? How in 1 second can I connect to an animal track like that and all of a sudden feel like I understand this animal in a different way? And then how did that start to, I should just say, it started to really change the way I started to look at the landscape, the way I started to think about myself as well. So again, this raised a lot of questions for me. I ended up going to, around that same time, I was in college at Western State College in an undergraduate study in outdoor leadership. And this was really about, how do you take people out in the wilderness, the nuts and bolts of how do you bring people out in the wilderness, and which was all fascinating to me. But I was always so curious about, well, here we've got this wonderful rock climb that we're doing, but what's happening for people while they're climbing? Because for me, it was all so pretty amazing to be able to work through challenges that I was going through on the rock and how that could translate to things in my life. So very metaphorical types of changes and processing that was coming up for me in regards to outdoor leadership. Eventually going into graduate school and studying consciousness transformation, and I began to develop a model for how you work with people in the wilderness that really starts to support deep change and transformation. What is transformation? What does that mean? And what is change? Those were the kind of questions that I was working with. And I was mentored by a wonderful man by the name of Rick Medrick, who started the outdoor leadership training seminars in Denver. And I believe his website is still live, and you can go see what he has been doing. And I don't think Rick's doing too much of that these days, but he really was one of the early facilitators of eco-psychology and wilderness rites of passage. In fact, Rick was guided me on one of my first quests, and that was such an amazing experience for me too, the wilderness quest. And if any of you have ever done one of those, you'll know just how profound that experience can be when it's facilitated in the right way and your mind and heart is in the right place. Soon after that, I started to connect with a man named Rob Meltzer, and Rob gave me the opportunity to assist him in guiding a quest, and that's when things really started to change for me. The quest is really the ultimate. When I think about what nature-connected coaching is, it's like a vision quest, a wilderness quest, distilled down into a session with somebody. People are questing, they're searching for something in their life. And coaching and nature-connected coaching, questing is ways that we can go and look to nature to find these answers for ourselves. And about that same time, I started working for Naropa University and helping them with their wilderness therapy program and eco-psychology program, and guiding a few different wilderness experiences for them. And that's where I met people like Derek Schmidt and Katie Asmus. Derek and Katie and Rob, they're all instructors in this program. They are So right about that time also, I started to see clients who were returning from wilderness therapy programs. And I was really interested, because I had had this experience with Knowles, really interested in how can I support people to have a transition back from the wilderness? How do we keep that inspiration that was awakened out there and bring that into the world. I saw that as very, very an important moment in people's lives. So that's how I really started working professionally in this. I didn't come into this work through psychotherapy or through the world of coaching. I really came into it through the wilderness. And that's what is important, I feel like, for you to know, is that it was really my inspiration around nature more than it was about psychology that really guided this for me. So about 10 years ago, I was very fortunate to meet Dr. Roger Strachan and begin to mentor under him in Gestalt facilitation and parts work and wilderness therapy. I continue today to be mentored by Roger and work with Roger. He's one of the most important teachers in my life, and is a huge, huge part of this program in so many ways. And after I was able to start to get some training with Roger, Roger actually took me out into the wilderness about 10 years ago and showed me really how do I do this work with people. And so I started taking people out for wilderness experiences, a multiple day, personal transformational, one-on-one kind of work in the wilderness. And soon after that, I decided to go get a coaching credential through the internet, through Fielding Graduate Institute. And that was an ICF credentialed program. And about that time, it all kind of happened around the same time, it feels like to me. My wife, the students started to say to me, hey, will you teach us how to do this work that you're doing? Show us how to do this. And my wife said, you should start a certification program. And so that's where we are. That was about 8 years ago, is when this really began. And it has evolved tremendously since the first cohort started going through this program. Roger, Rob, Derek, Katie, Aaron, they're all integral parts to this program. These people have really showed me how to listen, how to guide, how to facilitate deep work, and that's why they're instructors in this program. They have so much to offer, and so it's really important to me that they get to share that wisdom with anybody who comes through this program. The underlying philosophies of these trainings, the skills of nature connection, the deep listening and the ceremony and all those are really inspired through my studies with Tom and John. I continue to study with Tom. It's been almost 20 years now of studying with Tom Brown and that whole lineage of wisdom. And these two teachers have played a huge, huge role in my life and continue to do so. I'm sure JP and Susie can, when they, as they've become more involved with this program since they've graduated, they can tell you how much it's changed. And yet the core is still there. The deep part of this program is still there. Not a whole lot in terms of the deeper message has been removed. It's just really been enhanced. What started to happen about the time that JP and Susie were in the program was that people were really looking for business development. They wanted to be able to do this work and make money doing it. It wasn't so much about getting a job at a wilderness therapy program or looking to just have their own personal connection. It was really about, I feel really drawn to doing this work and I want to know how to do this work. So that was really a big shift for me in this program, was starting to create the curriculum and helping other people really develop their practice and their business or help them find that job in this work. And that's where the ICF approval came into place, getting the International Coach Federation to approve this program so students can get a professional credential at the end of it. the other piece is that what I started to see as well is that not everybody who wanted to go through this program had this deep desire to guide people into remote places. They all have a love for wilderness, all have a deep connection to nature, but not everybody wanted to go deeply into the remote wilderness. So what I ended up doing was splitting the program into 2 different certifications: nature-connected coaching and transformational wilderness guiding. The nature-connected coaching is really the core of the curriculum. It's the prerequisite for the guide program. And this is the ICF approved component. It's going to be what we talk a lot about in the next 20 minutes here. The transformational wilderness guide component is really the wilderness piece. It takes about 21 days to do this wilderness piece, but it is the culmination really of this nature-connected coaching program. So if you end up going through the entire program, you'll come out of it with 2 certifications and potentially, if you want to go down the road of ICF, a professional credential through the International Coach Federation. Let's see. So let me just take a look at some of these questions that have been coming in. Trevor, we're going to answer your question here in just a moment. Trevor's asking about commuting and how do people do this who live in different states. Got some questions about ICF and what types of current professions typically enroll in the course? This is Emily's question. Emily, maybe you could, if you're still here, if you're able to resubmit that question in another way. I'm not quite sure I understand what you are asking. So how do you know if EBI is right for you? Really, you feel called. That's the big one. That you're looking for a comprehensive training in nature-based facilitation, life coaching. You're looking to gain more processing skills and get a professional credential. You're wanting to work as a coach or wilderness guide professionally. We are really searching for professionally driven students, people who are very serious about doing this work. This is not a personal therapy program. This is an education, professional training. We want people who are able to go in and out of their own personal process, because that's how you learn in this program. It's all very experiential, who can go in and out of that and be able to come back into a educational mindset, learning, professional mindset. And our admissions process is more comprehensive than it's been in the past. You have an application to fill out, and the link here is in this. I'm going to send you these slides and everything as well, so you'll be able to see these when you get the documents. You have to provide references. You have to have an interview. Once you're accepted into the program, then you need to pay a deposit in order to be registered in the program. We have an early registration discount right now. If you, and I'll show you what those are in a little bit, if you register by May 15th. Let's see. Looking at some questions here. So, Suzanne, yes, you asked, are your program certifications also appropriate for guiding and coaching youth? Yes, they are. So who are the students in this program? Well, you know, you've been interacting with most of the same kind of students on this call. About 60-40 women to men. Sometimes that's I've got one cohort that only has one woman in it. I've got another cohort that's only got one guy in it. So it flip-flops a bit. About the age range is about 25 to 65. 30% are switching careers, about 30% are postgraduate and getting their career started in this work or in therapy or coaching, that kind of thing. 20% are currently in school, and the majority of the people work full-time. And I'll explain how the program works so you can see how that's possible. All right. So program overview. Definition of nature-connected coach. It's a professional coach who strives to guide their client to greater self-awareness, empowerment, and connection to purpose. A nature-connected coach also has a strong personal connection, respect, and trust in the natural world, natural cycles, and natural processes. A nature-connected coach considers nature to be an active collaborator or co-guide in the work with the client. A nature-connected coach, just like all of you, whether you're a coach or not, is inherently looks to nature for direction, inspiration, and clarity and solitude and solutions. Looking at another question here right now. So Sam, great question. Sam asks, how would the skills you learn in this school translate to something larger, like owning an international travel therapy organization? So two things that come out just right off the top of my head, and I'm hoping that over the course of the rest of this webinar, you'll be able to get more insight into this question. First off, this is an international certification with the ICF, so you'll be able to work wherever you'd like in the world. How you apply professional coaching is up to you. It is applicable in many ways, and I'm going to break this up, what nature-connected coaching is, where you see what professional coaching is, what nature connection is, and how those two come together. With the guiding perspective, it's using the same framework that we share with you, and that you would have to do the legwork on your part in figuring out how to run a travel organization, how to, what are the different components of that. There's many wonderful programs out there, Leap Now programs, Leap Year programs. There's a program here in Boulder called Where There Be Dragons that does this international travel. It's not necessarily therapy, but it's definitely personal growth and personal development. So there's some wonderful frameworks out there to check out. Okay, so moving on here. So Nature Connected Coach is a combination of professional coaching and nature connection. So definition of partnering with clients, or definition of professional coaching. This comes right from the International Coach Federation website. Professional coaching means partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. Coaches honor the client as the expert in his or her life and work and believe every client is creative, resourceful, and whole. Professional coaches focus on setting goals, creating outcomes, and managing personal change. So I just think that is such a wonderful definition, and it leaves such an open door, I think, in how we can support people. I just love this aspect of a coach honors that the client is the expert in his or her life. It's not about us doing anything. It's not about us being these magical people that can go in and heal. It's really about empowering them to find their own answers and guiding them in their own ways to come into themselves and to grow in the way that they need to. And so what is nature connection? You know, you can look at it from just sensory and nature awareness, being able to expand your awareness, listen, and kind of get out of your head and connect with the landscape. And really, it's contact. That's the connection. That is a big piece. Just think about what that means, to make contact with the present moment, to be engaged with the present moment and the environment that you're in. So you're connected and in contact with yourself and with the environment that you're in. So nature connection in and of itself is a practice. There's you know, you can do routines for yourself to stay in a place of nature connection. It's really a practice of remembering that you are a part of this environment and that you have an effect on the world around you. So let's take a moment here and look at a couple of questions that have been coming in. Okay. Let's see. Kate, we haven't answered your question yet, so you didn't miss anything. All right, so now how is this program set up? There are 12 learning modules to the Nature Connected program, coaching program. The first 4 learning modules are called the foundation modules. The next 8 are called the ToolBox modules. So the way that the program is set up is that it goes on a semester calendar. And a semester is 4 months long, and we start in September, end in December, start up again in February, end in May. So the standard program, standard process through the program, would you'd be starting in September or February, and you would do the foundation modules. So you've got Foundation 1, Foundation 2, Foundation 3, Foundation 4, and then you would drop in that arrow somehow is off. You would then drop into the ToolBox module calendar. So, and it goes around again. So if you started in February, then you would pick up back in September, starting in the ToolBox modules. The foundation modules are, they're sequential. It's very important that you go through them back to back in sequence. The ToolBox modules, you have a little bit more flexibility. That's why it's on a different calendar. When you come to an EBI weekend, you've got students all over the place. Students just starting the program in the foundation modules. You've got students who are in the ToolBox modules and are in different semesters of the program. It's really cool. Everybody's there together. We're all learning together. And we split up to go work on the aspects of the curriculum that we're focused on. So when you shift into the ToolBox modules, you have a little bit more flexibility. This is going to start to answer some of the questions that people have about travel. The foundation modules, it's really important that you come, bam, 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 once a month. The ToolBox modules, you're able to say, you know, I can't make it for this particular module. I'm going to pick that up when it comes around again. What that ends up doing is it stretches out your program a little bit, but you have that flexibility. So one of the things that I'm doing is we're trying out this new accelerated version, which allows you to complete the foundation modules in a 9-day intensive over the summer. So what that means is that you are completing 1/3 of the program in 9 days, essentially in 9 days. You still have the online components to do, which I'll discuss in a moment. But your travel is reduced to 1 trip for those foundation modules. After that, you can pick and choose your way through the program at a schedule that works for you, if not, ideally, to be able to come every month. So what is a module? So a module is about a month long of a focused on a particular topic. Each module has a 3-day face-to-face intensive, has 2 live video conferences, and an online discussion. And for the foundation modules, the online and the video, obviously you can do, there's a schedule for the video calls, but you don't have to be in Boulder for those. And the online discussion piece is something that you're able to do on your own speed in between those face-to-faces in order to finish the module. So the main goals of the foundation module is to understand and practice the core competencies of professional coaching and nature-connected coaching, to deepen your personal connection to nature, and to coach on a level that meets the expectations of the ICF. Know how to collaborate with nature in the environment and to enhance your client's experience, and to understand the foundational structures of ceremony and how to implement it into your coaching work. This is a very important component, this idea of ceremony, and it's very stripped down. It's probably not what you think in regards to ceremony. It's more of a concept than it is an action. So for the ToolBox modules, the main goals of the ToolBox modules is to enhance your understanding, to deepen your understanding of the competencies, to deepen your personal connection to nature, and to coach at a level that exceeds the expectations of the ICF, and to really develop powerful process tools and advanced understanding of change theory and guide work. This is where you're going to be learning things, for example, like Gestalt therapy or parts work, understanding about how to work, identify and work with trauma or grief, and not from the perspective of we're going to train you to be a trauma therapist, but from the perspective of to be able to see it when it comes up and know how to work with it when it's there, how to refer out if you need to, but really, how do I stay focused on my client's goals while this is coming up? What do I do? How do I show up for whatever this emotional thing is that my client's working with? How do I show up for that and weave that into their practice, their process if necessary? So there's a question that just came up. Just to be clear, for the 3-day face-to-face, one would need to be in Boulder. Yes, you would need to come to Boulder for the 3-day face-to-face. It's a Friday through Sunday. We start at 9:30 in the morning on Friday. We go to 4:30 in the evening. Same on Saturday. And then Sunday we start at 9 in the morning and we end at 2:30. People who've been traveling from out of town for this are usually able to get on an evening flight on Sunday. And they come in the day before on Thursday usually. I mean, unless you do a red eye and then try to stay up all night for the training on Friday, that would be pretty rough. But let's keep moving along here. Great questions. Please keep asking them as we go. So what happens in between the face-to-faces? There's online discussion, and that is around a leading question of some kind, or it could be on your experience at the face-to-face. It could be on work that you've been doing with one of your practice clients, and there's, it's guided in a way. And of course, we want to be supporting you to continue your nature connection routines. There's reading, there's the video conferences, and a big piece of this is with these video conferences is a whole curriculum in career development. That's really what these video conferences have turned into. There's a piece of it that we talk about, the coaching content and so forth, but it shifts. It's pretty split, 50-50, that we're focusing also on your career development, business planning, developing your practice as a guide. Nature-connected coaching practice groups. The mentors in this program have decided to allow us to meet with students, any students that are available, a couple of times a month to get together and practice, and that usually happens in Boulder. And we usually try to have one on the Thursday before the face-to-face starts, so people coming from out of town can come in and get that practice. And then meeting with mentors. Mentors are a huge part of this program now. When you enter into the program, you will have a mentor that has gone through this program, that is working professionally in this way, is working to get their ICF credential, and they are there to support you personally and professionally through this program. I want you to be meeting with them about once a month. They're paid to be there to support you to get the most out of this program. Okay, so the accelerated program starts with that 9-day intensive, and that's from July 24th to June 24th to July 2nd. You'll complete all the phone calls and online discussions between July and September, and then you'll drop right into the ToolBox modules. So what this will allow you to do is complete all the foundation modules before the start of the fall semester, and it'll shorten the program from 18 months to 11 months. That's if you were to go through it month by month by month. So I'm really excited about this. This is something that was inspired by one of our current students who went on hiatus and is coming back for this accelerated. She's a physician and teaches medical doctors, and she asked, could I please try to do this in some kind of accelerated method, because with her busy work schedule, she's just not able to go month by month by month by month with this. So this is what we've come up with, and I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be a great opportunity. The ICF has approved it, so you're not missing any opportunities on that way either. So I also know that right now we're kind of getting towards the end of the time, and I have a lot more to share. So I'm going to keep going, and if you need to jump off, I understand. You're absolutely welcome to stay here and keep asking questions. It's very helpful. But I'm going to finish this webinar so you can, if you do have to go, so you're going to get the complete information. And I just want to, if you do leave, I just want to thank you for being here. And please send me questions and keep the dialogue going with me. So to choose the difference between the accelerated or the standard, what is better for you? Some ideas for this are that you would finish the Nature Connected Coaching certification in a shorter amount of time, reduce your travel costs, and you can start coaching right away. We want our students to begin coaching professionally, being paid, ideally, right by the time you finish the foundation modules, if not before. But by the time you finish the foundation modules, you will have a structure and a way for working with people. The ToolBox modules is just going to keep enhancing it and enhancing it. The accelerated is not a shortcut to ICF credentialing. You've got to complete the program in order to be approved, in order to get the Earth-Based Institute certification that is approved by the ICF. It's not a short circuit, but it's a much quicker way of going through the program and getting there. The benefit of the standard pace is that it allows for more time for integration, and this is really important for a lot of people. The face-to-faces are intense. They are, you know, like I call it the fire hose method of teaching. So 9 days of fire hose method will be intense, without a doubt. And to have that month of space and time to just integrate that particular experience and to talk about it and process it with your group and talk about it with your mentors and instructors can be very helpful. All right, so let's take a look at questions. All right. Oh, JP, if you see your chat, he's put in his email there, if anybody would like to connect with him. So this slide doesn't seem quite right to me, but anyways, we've talked about mentors and practice groups. Other aspects of the training is that some of the other pieces that we haven't talked about, distant learning, it's really it's an opportunity for you to be able to continue your life wherever you live. I know that travel is an expensive piece to all this, and I am currently trying to figure out how to make this more workable for people traveling from long distances. So just know that I am thinking about that. I have been for a while. But you don't have to move to Boulder to do this. You can maintain a life in Oregon or California or Utah or wherever you're living, and be able to travel out here if you're able to do that. It's experiential, and it's all about practice and getting the feedback, direct feedback from me, from your other instructors, from your cohort, so you can feel really confident when you finish this program. So there's not a whole ton of lecture where I just sit there and tell you how to do things. It's me kind of throwing you into the fire and then talking about what happened and how does that apply and what do we do. It's very experiential, very much using your personal process, your personal questions, your personal need for coaching as a client to give your cohort members the opportunity and experience to guide and coach, and vice versa. You'll be in that role as a guide yourself, working with one of your peers, but on a real life situation. It's not fabricated. You're dealing with real things, real emotion, real need. There's college and graduate credit available for this through Western State Colorado University. They've accredited this. And then for the ICF, and we'll talk about this as well, for the ICF, you're required, in order to get your credential, you're required to do 10 hours of mentor coaching. And that is different than working with your mentor in this program. Mentor coaching would be similar to like supervision for a psychotherapist. And so we provide that's woven into the program, into your tuition costs, to be able to get that mentor coaching and complete that when you finish the program. So you'll have your certification as well as your mentor coaching complete, and you'll be well on your way to submitting your portfolio to the ICF for approval for credential. So let's talk about the International Coach Federation. So they have 3 different levels of accreditation. They've got associate certified coach, professional certified coach, and master certified coach. There's more to these, and I'm going to give you the website for you to go look up this a little bit more for yourself. It's an optional thing. It's a bonus. If you want this, you'll be approved by the ICF for it if you complete the program. But just in a nutshell, you need to get your associate certified coach, you need at least 60 hours of training, professional certified coach, 125, and master certified coach, 200. This program offers 315 hours of ICF approved coach. So as you move up the ranks in these certifications, which is based on the hours of professional coaching, you will not have to go back and do any more education. It's all taken care of. And most people are going to be finishing this program and going towards their associate certified coach. And these 100 hours, you start clocking them the minute you enter into this program, once the program starts. So my goal is to get you well on your way on those 100 hours by the time you graduate. If not, the ideal is that you're done. You've got those 100 hours completed at the end of your training, and you can go right into submitting your ICF certification or for your credential. So for more information about the ICF, go to coachfederation.org and click on individual credentialing. What you will be following is the ACSTH. It's called Approved Coach Specific Training Hours. That's what our program is approved for, and you'll be following that path for your credentialing. There's a few different ways of going about getting your credentialing at the ICF, and this is one of the ways. So if you're curious about that, I encourage you to do some research on that, and we can also help answer questions. All right, so quick look at the Transformational Wilderness Guide certification. How is that different, and what's that all about? So there's two parts. First, a part, I'm going to say first, well actually it is the first. You got to do this before it is a prerequisite for the next part. So is a wilderness quest. And this is from July 23rd to the 30th, and that's this summer. We offer it every summer. This is open. There's no prerequisite to it. So it's a great way if you're interested in Earth-Based Institute, you're not 100% sure about things, you're really kind of wanting your own personal experience, this would be a great way to get started. This happens out in Colorado, and like I said, the Wilderness Quest is really the ultimate in a nature-connected experience, in a transformational wilderness experience. It involves, it's a ceremony that's about 8 days long. And 4 of that is, roughly 4, it's really dependent on you and your needs and what you're seeking at this time in your life. But to have a solo and a fast, and that could be up to 4 nights, 4 days, 4 nights, returning on the 5th day. And it's all guided and supported. And by fast, yeah, that's fast from food. It's not fast from water, but it's fast from food. And again, obviously, that is something that we work with each individual person around. But when you also think about fasting, it's what else? You're also fasting from community. You're also fasting from technology. You're fasting from all sorts of things and putting yourself into deep immersion with the wilderness with an intention. Why would you go be by yourself and exposed in the wilderness for 4 days and not eat? It can be very challenging, very difficult. And when you have an intention, it brings purpose around that. So that's a big part of this ceremony. It's helping you define what the purpose is and to be able to work with that intention out in the wilderness. And then, of course, there's the transition back home, and that is a huge part of the quest, the quote-unquote living your vision. And that is something that we really support you with. And when you go through this program, you will see how everything that you've been learning through the Nature Connected Coaching Program is all in there. And another reason is so often why this is a requirement as a guide is that I've worked with many people who have worked in wilderness therapy and have gone to work for wilderness therapy programs, and started wilderness therapy programs. And oftentimes there is a solo or a quest that's involved with these wilderness therapy programs. And what I've seen is that not too many of the guides have ever done one of these themselves. So there they are putting participants out into the wilderness without that experience themselves. Maybe they've been told what happens, but they've never experienced it themselves. So there's a huge disconnect there in my mind. In many ways, it feels like a disservice to be able to put someone out like that without ever doing it yourself. So that's another reason why it's a requirement. It's very much an experience. You're guided through it. The next part is the 14-day leadership training. And this is really wilderness leadership. This is one of the parts that JP is going to be instructing. Really leadership oriented. How do you plan a trip? How do you organize food, pack for food, create resupplies? How do you read a map? How do you choose routes? How do you get a group from one point? How do you decide where you're going? How do you get a group from one point to another? How do you climb a mountain, go over a pass? These kind of things. Be out in the weather, in remote locations. Deal with things that come up. So there's a 7-day backpacking trip, which isn't a ton of time out there. But it's enough to give you a good experience of what that is like. And it's all woven around leadership. So you are getting the hands-on experience of leading that 7-day wilderness trip and planning for it and organizing it and getting the instruction on how to do that. The last 5 days is a culminating experience where you are going to take a client, a peer in your group out for 24 hours. This is why this has to happen at the very end. You're taking a group out, or you're an individual out for 24 hours into the wilderness to do personal transformation. So everything that you've been learning through this whole program gets applied to this experience, and that's done in a supported, instructed way where you've got myself, JP, other instructors will be there to help you if things come up, guide you and support you, so forth. And both of these, I put previous training and experience will be considered. Many people have already done quests in a way that meets our competencies. Many people have already got the wilderness training that meets our competencies. So I look at all that. If you already have it, I'm not going to make you do that again, but you have to do this 24-hour culminating experience. You've got to come for the last 5 days of this 14-day trip. Again, that wilderness training is not a requirement. Not everybody wants that. It's not for everybody. It's really for those people who desire to take their clients out into remote locations in the wilderness. All right, so the big questions that a lot of people have been wanting to hear, I know, is tuition and financing. What does this cost and how does this work? So the tuition for the quest is $1,500. We have a discount for that by June 1st. $1,350, that includes food and doesn't include gear, but it includes your food, which you do eat. You're not starving the entire time, but you do eat. The 14-day, the cost of that is $2,000. So if you were to pay for all these things separately, this is what it would look like. And then we'll go into the accelerated. So I'm offering the accelerated as a separate cost. And obviously you can't get your credential or your certification if you don't finish the whole program. But it is an option for people if I just want to see what this is like. I just want to get this started. I'm not ready to commit to the whole thing, but I want to get the ball rolling with this. You can come and do that accelerated 9-day program. And so the cost is $4,000. The discount by May 15th is $3,700. And we offer financing for that, which I'll explain in a moment. The full Nature Connected coaching program for the 315 hours of instruction and so forth comes to $9,700. There's a $500 discount for that. If you get your registration in by May 15th, so more than just apply, but actually get accepted and put a deposit down. Deposits for all of these is for the accelerated and the Nature Connected coaching, the transformation with us, $1,500. There's deposit for these quests that is less, it's $400. To register for the whole shebang, it's the cost is $12,900, and $900 discount if registered by May 15th. So that's the cost. I encourage you to go and do comparisons with other programs out there. There's many programs where you can go and get a coaching certification in a weekend online. This is not that. Coaching, in my mind, is a bonus. The coaching credential is a bonus. This is really about guiding. When you complete this nature-connected coaching program, you're going to have everything you need, really, to be guiding people in a very deep way. And if you are searching for the wilderness piece and you need that training, then that's there as well. But it's a very comprehensive program. And I encourage you to go online and look at other coaching programs that are out there and do some comparison. So for financing, we do offer a low interest payment plans, and for anywhere between 6 months to 24 months. This is through a third-party organization, and there's their website there, TFC Tuition Finance, or Tuition. It's called TFC Tuition Financing, and we will work with you individually around what those payment plans will be, and so forth. We're in charge of all that, so we get to work with you individually around that if that's something that you need. So this is a new thing too, that we're offering partial scholarships to students who are very dedicated into starting their own business as transformational wilderness guides. And your applications must be in by May 15th to be eligible for that, and your application to the program. If this is something that interests you, then please contact us, and we can start to work with you around getting the information that we need to see if we can provide that for you. We are also looking for a few work exchange students, and within these following skills. So if you're out there and you're looking at this program and figuring out how you can afford it, and you have these skills, then love for you to contact us and apply. So webinar and online program development, social media networking, copywriting and editing, and responsive website design. These are some development things that we're looking for. And if you've got some of these skills, this can be a way to help offset the tuition. Another thing is that we also offer, for students that are in the program, currently in the program, we also offer a $250 credit, cash credit to people who refer other students to the program. Once that student registers for the program, they've paid their deposit and they're in the program, and they've been referred by a current student in the program, then that student will get $250 to put towards their tuition payments. They can just have the cash if they'd like, so that's an option as well. All right, so we're pretty much here at the end of this webinar. Next steps is to keep asking questions, to contact myself or Ivy Walker, who is helping me with the admissions. Our website, our emails are here. It's just Michael or Ivy at earthbasedinstitute.org. Fill out the application, schedule a time for us to talk and interview. So that is it. I do have one more slide, but I'd love to see if there's any other questions that are coming up. And if so, please feel free to just pop them into the chats at this time. Right. Okay, well, I'll just share a, here's another piece here. So missions for the quest. If you are interested in doing the quest, you need to have a phone conversation with myself or with Rob. And you have a deposit of $400, and then we need a letter of intention from you. I'll give you the information about that if you're interested in the quest, but there's a process to apply to. It's not really an application, it's more of just the big thing is that you feel called more than anything. So while we're just finishing up, I'll just kind of show you this last slide, and this is a calendar of what it would look like if you started the program in 2016. If you started the accelerated program through the accelerated semester in June, you would be finished with the foundation modules by the time the semester September started. So you would drop right into the ToolBox modules, and you can see the schedule of ToolBox modules here. And the dates that these modules all take place, the face-to-faces that take place. So this is important for folks who are looking to travel out here, as well as if you've got busy schedules, to be able to block out these times. If you were to go through the standard path, you can see what your schedule would look like. You would start with Foundation 1 in September, and you would finish the program in December of 2017, just the Nature Connected piece. Any of the summers, you're welcome to take the quest. You just can't take that 14-day leadership until you're done with the Nature Connected coaching. And if you were to start with the accelerated, you would be finishing the program this next May. So about a year from now, a little bit more. All right. Well, that's it. And Susie, I see that you're still here, which is wonderful. I think JP had to go, and he was having some issues with his computer. Susie, is there anything you'd like to say? You're still here. All right, well, maybe she's gone too. But, well, thank you all for being here. And please let me know if there's questions. I'll hang around for a little bit and see if any other questions come up. Take care. Trevor, so your question, the quest is a standalone piece that is kind of a way to get a preview of things, but it's also part of the curriculum. That's correct. Part of the Transformational Wilderness Guide curriculum, not part of the Nature Connected Coaching curriculum. But yeah, you're right. That is, it's a standalone piece, and it's also a way to get the ball rolling with the curriculum. All right. Well, I think we've covered it. Let's see, Trevor, you just had another question here. The question, the Transformational Wilderness Guide are kind of synonymous. Yes, it is part of that Transformational Wilderness Guiding program. The Quest and the 14-day leadership are part of that program, the Transformational Wilderness Guiding certification. Okay, wonderful. Okay, thank you very much. And I'll be sending out a recording to everybody.